Welcome. You are listening to Guiding Stars. I'm here with Stacie Pazura. This is Kristin Fontana, One with the Wild today. EA and the Daemon Archetype, Part 3, and third time's a charm. That's what I want to say to start off this episode, this webinar, because those words will come back to us a little bit later in the show, but I want you to remember that. Third time is a charm came to be for a reason. And we'll find out more about that today. So welcome back, Stacie. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Well, for those of you that don't know, we lost our beloved Lucky, who's an English Mastiff, a week ago today. About a month ago, we started compiling slides for this webinar, and I had this very eerie feeling, a premonition almost. And yet, I mean, I just rarely tell personal stories in my life, but I felt like his story deserved to be told. And not only that, I felt that it was material that would really help other people. And so I had to set aside my my personal reality, my shy self, and private self, to send several messages today to people. Can animals reincarnate? Of course they can. We look at evolutionary astrology as a journey of the soul, right? We traveled many lifetimes to be where we are today, here talking about this, and so have those furry friends of ours, those wild souls that we've connected with for so many lifetimes. And that's what this series is about, the Daemon Archetype, which are souls who are connected to the animal kingdom, plant and animal kingdom, intimately, lifetimes where they've spent more time with animals potentially and in nature than they have with humans, or when they were in nature with animals, there were much fewer humans. So we're honoring the wild in this series. And Lucky was 11 years old and brought an incredible amount of love to this family. Really into anyone who ever met him. I don't know. I hope I can get through this today. I think I will be able to. It's just really fresh. And the space that I'm sitting in right now is a yurt, obviously, and he used to come in here when I would do readings for people, and whenever somebody was really suffering or in pain, he would move next to them and put a paw on their leg, where we sit in these meditation chairs, and he'd put a paw on their knee or get close to them, and really just his presence was incredibly powerful. I mean, so many people in this town know who he is, you know, that kind of thing. And so he was on a special mission in this life to help me and to help my daughter in particular, and not just us. I mean, obviously, so I do want to honor him with joy, and I want to be able to teach people more about this Daemon archetype and how powerful it is. Our dogs, our cats, our horses, our birds, they may not be able to speak in the way that we speak, but it's really about learning how to tune into what they're saying. And so this image here is obviously the chakras, and it reflects the fact that there are many soul types, actually 7 soul types connected to the different chakras. And while we may be rooted in one chakra, we are all trying to activate all of them to become more whole and holy. And there are also types within types. For example, my essence is an Amazon, it's a warrior, and that's very much a navel chakra kind of energy. But I'm a Daemon soul too, which is the second chakra, right? And we talk about we talk about the daemon soul being directly connected first with the planet Jupiter.
Yeah.
And so Jupiter does rule that second chakra. So just know that the daemon archetype, the daemon soul, is a soul typing on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And we aren't going to get into the other soul typings, and actually they're so vast, it's so really complicated that Jeffrey felt he could never even write about it. And so that's why we don't have detailed information. And another thing I remember he used to say, I don't want people saying, well, I'm a number 3 or I'm a number 4, you know.
Right.
I know chakra, the bhakti soul typing, obviously there's plenty of people that are rooted in another chakra that are very bhakti in the way that they give to this world. So, you know, it is a lot more complicated than people think. But the daemon soul archetype comes from what we call it a second chakra, ruled by Jupiter and Neptune. And the mutable axis is so, or so much reflects the daemon archetype. So maybe we could do a quick review of that before we get going. Mm-hmm. If you're wondering what is a daemon soul, as I just shared, Stacie, you give us your definition.
Well, it's a soul that consciousness is fused with the totality of nature. And so it has an ability to connect with plants and animals, nature. And through that communication, it's able to serve as a messenger of God. It's able to intuit things that, you know, that you could help with. Yeah.
Right. And so as you can see in this image, this woman is just fused with this wolf, you know. It's kind of reminds me of lifetimes hunting with the wolves, right, for food. And, you know, these are souls that would do that. They're just completely aligned with the consciousness of the wolf. And the other most important thing really to say about daemon souls in particular, as animals are, they're pure emotion. And that can be reflected in the Pisces archetype, Jupiter, Neptune ruling that second chakra. They're pure emotion. And if you can align with their emotional bodies, you're going to be aligning with them. They have no agenda. They just want to love you. They just want to, in this case, a wolf, you know, there's so much about the family, right? There's so much about the tribe. And so, and there are various types of daemon souls, of course. Some souls are connected to birds and nature, some wolves, some both, you know, horses. You know, I just had a funny thought, actually. Of course, everyone's seen 101 Dalmatians, but I love that scene at the beginning where they're showing all the different owners with their dogs and how they even look like their dog, right? They tend to choose the animal that looks like them more so. You know?
Right, yeah.
Such a great part of that. But anyway, here's the immutable axis. Again, starting with Jupiter, wherever Jupiter's in your chart, if you have Jupiter in Sag or you have a strong 9th house, and you know you're a daemon soul, you can track some of these different energies in your chart, anything in these mutable houses or mutable signs. And the Gemini, of course, here shown is reflecting the diversity in nature. My gosh, when you think about plants and animals, the diversity in nature is just massive.
Yes.
So we've,
It's all connected.
Definitely all connected. So for those of you who want a little bit more information on this mutable axis, we do talk about it in part 1 and part 2, but I'd like to move along to the next slide. We can get going on our little journey today.
Can I just put in one thing? We
Sure.
said it before, but daemon souls tend to, because there is kind of a simplicity in their consciousness, they tend to orient to plants and animals easier than people. And so.
Oh, I'm really glad you said that, because I was thinking, you know, the daemon archetype, most daemon souls are inherently shy. And yeah, there's been superstructures created to protect themselves or to hide behind who they are, but they're inherently shy, very sensitive, and very compassionate kinds of souls. And what's that guy that's so popular right now? The zoo guy.
The zoo guy.
Oh, he's all over Netflix right now. I can't think of it.
You're not talking about Tiger King, are you?
Who?
Tiger King.
Yeah, him. So I mean,
really?
okay, let me just tell you who he's a consensus guy, clearly.
Yes.
Consensus gone awry. He clearly has clearly has a gift with the animals. Okay, there's no question about that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a consensus state soul that's kind of gone awry, right? There's just things that have gotten tangled up in there. So
yeah,
clearly not a shy human being either.
Yeah.
Furthest thing from. Okay, so another place to look in your chart, which you may never have done before, is that there are asteroids that sit in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. 2 asteroids in particular that speak directly to the wolf and the daemon soul are shown here. Hopefully the numbers are correct. And you can find your position of these asteroids and the south and north nodes of these asteroids with this TrueNode.com website below. So if you want to track where yours are and find out more about your journey, then go ahead and check out that website. All right, let's go to the next slide. So one of my favorite quotes from Jeffrey Green is this. Oh gosh, there's so many.
Yeah.
But this one in particular, because he never wasted words in his teachings, ever.
Right.
And here's one sentence that you can just sit and think about for about a month, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to re-enter the fracture in order to heal it. You know, we can't skip steps. We can't hit the delete button. We have to re-experience the emotion. If we leave a life and something is unresolved and it ended really badly, we don't just get to come into another life and feel better about it all, right, or forget it all. We call into our lives events that will activate very similar things that happened when everything did go awry, whether it's being persecuted for who you are, or, you know, you dying for what you believed in. You're not going to come back not fighting for that same thing again.
Or another example is not actualizing, you know, like a special role that you had in a certain life.
Exactly.
You don't just get to skip into a next life and move on to something else. You've got to go back.
And if that special role that you were meant to actualize doesn't happen, you're always going to feel like there's something missing.
Yes.
There's that void inside of you, that ache, and you know it, you feel it. I talk to people every day who have that experience. And so, yeah, so when you are coming back to recover who you are, whatever root you are, whether it's daemon or something else, you may have to enter the fire swamp. You ever see Bride? Yeah, you may have to enter some sensitive territory to help recover yourself and your soul. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide.
Another thing, the one good thing about all of this is, you know, after every lifetime, we have reviews of our lives, and we think we are made aware of certain things. And so the soul is able to prepare a little bit, you know, before the next reincarnation. And so, you know, each time it gets a little easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's like the cardinal axis, the 2 steps forward, 1 step back process. I mean, we're always pulling from our past and finding strength in our steps forward to motivate us further forward. I love this image so much because I don't know how much to share today, but well, what I will say is that I have actually had dreams and memories of the last life that Lucky was my English Mastiff we'll be talking about today, the last life that we were together. And it did take place in the forest, and it ended very badly. So I love this image so much because it's just the innocence of this girl walking out of the forest and into the light, you know, really coming out of that space of hiding. You know, when you think of Pisces, you think of hiding, you think of sensitivity, you think of escape, you think of a soul that feels everything, maybe even a soul that experiences themselves as being too sensitive for the soil. Because if you have a strong Pisces element in your chart, whether it's a moon in Pisces or strong 12th house, Saturn in Pisces, you're going to be feeling everything in full. Your environment, the emotions of other people, the emotions of animals that you have. And so, you know, it takes a lot of courage to come out and to just be who you are, as you are, without fears of what will happen. And so I love this image. It's just beautiful. All right, next. I just wanted to share this one too, because this is I think where it all began for me. In Mongolia on a horse. This is just a place that feels like home to me. So I wanted to share that one. All right, so we're starting with this chart because we're going to be teaching a lot of EA principles today through our journey. And I just wanted to highlight here this Saturn and Pisces in the 9th house. It's a Jupiter-ruled house naturally. It's squaring the nodal axis. It's actually moved beyond the square. So this is something that the soul of Kristin has been working on for some time. Got the South Node in Sag, Mercury, Sun, all there as well. And so if that Saturn was at 4 degrees of Pisces, it would be right at the critical square mark. So it's 6 degrees beyond that square. And so Saturn in Pisces has to do with the structural nature of consciousness, wherever your Saturn is, and this is now you kind of combine Sag with Pisces, that conditions all the other planets in the chart. So if you're looking for a soul who has a predominant daemon influence, you're seeing all the mutable archetypes presented here all over the place, right? You've got Saturn and Pisces in the 9th, all the Sag, Gemini axis, even Jupiter, which rules the South Node, Mercury, and Sun in Sag is in the 12th, and it's in Gemini. So you see all these repeating themes here, and the need in this lifetime to recover this part of my nature. I want to probably just, I'm going to tell a story now before we go to the next slide.
Oh, well, can I just, well, because I'm just looking at your chart here and I just see this incredible theme of, you know, your soul is intending to make an evolutionary leap in the patterns that have conditioned you through patriarchal religions, such and such, which have created an internalization of maybe masochistic dynamics, holding your tongue, not speaking your truth. And I just see an incredible theme where it's just busting out. You know, this is the lifetime where you speak your truth and you be of service to others by disseminating information and having dialogues about all of these dynamics, objectifying everything, you know, allowing other people to understand what kind of adjustments can be made for them to heal their own selves. Yeah, there's just an incredible intention to heal the soul in terms of who you naturally are and not what society expects you to be.
I just had a memory of when I was in 5th grade and we were coming back from the high school football game. My brother played on the football team and we're in our station wagon, right? And my friend and I are in the very back, and I don't know what got into me, because honestly, I never talked back to my dad because he would pull out the belt, no doubt, man. I had the belt a few times. We all did. You said someone who's afraid to speak, and I do have Mercury retrograde on the South Node in Sag, and I started to whine about having to go to church the next day. I mean, I couldn't believe how I just kept going on and on, and it got louder and louder. And when I got out of that car, my mom said, "You better run." She knew my mom was like, she was awesome. She knew she couldn't protect me from that. And I got it, man. And boy, did I ever get it. But something in me clearly needed to get it out and say how I really felt and what I wanted as a 11-year-old child.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I wanted to share is that I love something you said, Stacie, in our second webinar. You said, you don't just come out and, experience yourself as a daemon. It takes time. You don't just come out and start talking to a tree.
Yeah.
And it really starts to happen through probably some deeper Saturn cycles, especially in a chart with someone who has Saturn square the nodes. These big metamorphic turns are going to happen at Saturn moments. I didn't even find this work until I was halfway through my Saturn square after my Saturn return, right? So it's like 33 years old. I didn't even find this work until then. I think I did find the Pluto book, but I hadn't met Jeffrey till I was 33. So I didn't know this is what I wanted to do. So it took time, a lot of time. My earliest memory of animals in this lifetime, I was even born into a family where my dad was allergic to animals, so we couldn't have any. My earliest memory is being attacked by a German Shepherd.
So that happened in this life. Yes?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, 5 or 6, and I have three siblings, and my 2 older brothers and a twin sister, and we heard the ice cream truck coming. That warped sound. It's so warped. It's like this bad circus, but you hear it coming from a distance. We're so excited, getting into our piggy banks and running outside and running out to the curb. And there was a dog that always barked kind of up around the corner. And I looked to my right, and down the street came hauling this, like, it looked like the police dog type of German Shepherd.
Right.
Came, and I screamed so loud, of course, 5 years old with his teeth. And I got attacked. I was the one who got attacked.
Wow.
Out of all of us. And I just, chewed my leg up. So you think about it, I'm a daemon soul, and that's my first experience, right?
Yeah.
And well, this exact memory, like this exact experience, was my very last memory 500 years ago in the forest with my dog. He did not attack me, but we were attacked by an opposing force. We'll just put it that way. So anyway, the soul is, I'm re-entering the trauma at 11, right? And of course, I was not going to be wanting a big dog anytime soon, right? So that's my earliest memory. Now years passed, and now I'm in college, and I'm invited to the Medieval Times, which is this restaurant where they have horses in the middle doing all of this entertainment of sorts, like Arabian horses, and you watch them do their show. And I didn't make it past the soup. My bronchioles collapsed, and I ended up on an oxygen tank in the patio.
Oh wow.
And I wasn't the only one out there, by the way. So here I am, a Sagittarius, right? And I can't even be around horses either. And so I thought, this is like a sick joke by God or something. How can I not even be near a horse without my life being dependent on it? So those are my 2 experiences of wolves and horses, which I intimately connected to. That was, probably 24, 25 years ago. Well, I'm 54, when I was about 25 years old, so it was a little bit more than that. And so I'm sharing this because there are souls that because of trauma from the past life may come into this world with allergies to certain animals.
Right.
Due to being, horrible things happening, guaranteeing that they don't get close to them again, right? Do you remember in the first series, I think we talked about the girl who grew up with horses and then she got really into glamour.
Mm-hmm.
Back to her horses, and she couldn't breathe around them.
Right.
Because she had gone so far away from her nature, right?
Yeah.
That she had to be like on an inhaler and everything else. It was a sign to her soul, like, what are you doing? You are so far off track. And I was so far off track, even coming into this life.
Right.
Why I had those experiences.
Hmm.
All right, so go ahead and show the next slide. So I remember when I got into evolutionary astrology, and you know, you're discovering, oh, what house your Pluto's in. That's really the first place you look in this work.
Mm-hmm.
And the third house, of course, is part of this mutable axis. A big part of third house is this need for diversity and being connected to a diversity of worlds and realities. It's kind of very much connected to, through that polarity to Sag. I just feel like a gypsy spirit. So I have this third house Pluto, and the power of words have, you know, that's where a lot of my wounds are in other lifetimes, certain things that were said to me as I was being persecuted or on my way out. It's the words that people said that were created the biggest wounds, and they just held tight in my subconscious. My Sun and Sag and Mercury are both in the 6th house. So of course that can create this, you know, Stacie, what happens.
Oh, sure.
So,
well, and then that's restated by your Pluto and Uranus in the 3rd in Virgo. So
right.
Learn guilt, learn, you know, I'm not good enough, what's wrong with me, etc.
Right, exactly. So one of the very first things that Jeffrey said to me at one of the schools that I attended, I met him at a conference. He had done a lecture on Saturn, of all things. But once he got to know, you know, we had a conversation, talked a little bit about my chart. These were one of the first words he said to me. Now, you can imagine, you are a wild stallion that cannot be broken. And you can imagine what I was feeling in that moment, given the fact that I had to be put on oxygen just to be watching animals entertain me, right? But it was those words that the power of those words that
right.
It created this like Zen blow moment, Pluto Uranus in the 3rd. And I can relate to this horse, like that is my spirit inside, like that's how I feel as a soul. And I had denied myself, of course, in this lifetime. I was so afraid to get near these animals. And I did come to learn more about those lives. Some of them were through dream, and some of them I was told about. And you know, when you get the hair standing up on your skin, you know that it's the truth. That's what a Sagittarius is, or anybody with a strong 9th house. It's like when you hear the truth and you know it. The truth doesn't require belief. You just know it. It exists, and your body will tell you the truth every time.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of experience that I had. And that moment, I wanted to do everything I could to recover my nature.
Yes.
And I wanted to be free of these allergies. They were just crippling.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. So this is my daughter, Katya, and she is what we call my same soul. And in evolutionary astrology, there's different soul types beyond these chakras like we were talking about. There's karma mates, there's soul mates, there's twin souls. There's something called same soul. And a same soul is when two souls at some point in their evolution will separate in order to individuate and in order to accelerate accelerate the evolution. So, you know, two things can be worked on at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, the same souls can come into the same life. They can be in different lives. They can come in through father, daughter, father, son. It could be, you could meet a same soul in the world. I would say they never work as partners. It's interesting, you know, because there's such a strong magnetism between same souls.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a repelling that happens at the same time, because the soul is trying to, you know, in that Aries place, right? Trying to explore and be, you know, and to individuate, to go out there and do what it came to do. And so it's a very confusing thing at times when you're so magnetically drawn to that soul, and they're like mirrors for each other, and yet at the same time needing to separate. And so if, you know, some of you are listening and are thinking, gosh, I wonder if so-and-so is my same soul, or maybe you've been attracted to somebody in your life and you kind of couldn't put a finger on it, but it just never really worked. You know, that it's a possibility. So anyway, I want to draw your attention here to some of all the strong mutable energies in her chart as well. You've got a 6th house Pluto. Her wolf is 26 Sag, all the Gemini, Saturn, Moon, Jupiter. So the nodes, the rulers for both of her nodes, South node in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn in Gemini, and her North node in Cancer, ruled by Moon in Gemini, again, carrying that mutable influence all the way through. The ruler of her Pluto in the 6th is Jupiter in Gemini in the 11th house. So we can go ahead and go into the next slide. We'll be back looking at some things here in a little bit. I mean, this is a picture I ran into right around the time that she was this age, and like this image, and probably maybe a little younger, actually, yeah, much younger, when we reconnected with the soul of Lucky, who we'll be introducing here soon. But Katya was extremely afraid of animals, of mostly of dogs, and even little dogs, because of what happened to me, right? Being attacked by a German Shepherd. I'm not kidding. Any animal with 4 legs, it was like the instinct was to leap.
Interesting.
I don't remember having a fear of animals before I got attacked in this life, but I hadn't really been exposed to them. So, you know.
Well, and I have a question. So after the attack for yourself, did you carry a fear of dogs within yourself? Or?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we would visit my great aunt's friends who had a little poodle, and I didn't want to go near a poodle. I mean, it was really just, it was so much more than getting attacked by a German Shepherd. I mean, obviously a child could die from that, clearly, but it was triggering the ending of my last life, which was a pack of wolves, you know, hunting me down with my wolves and not surviving that. So you know, that's literally what that was about. So anyway, yes, afraid of, I mean, literally even, I mean, I don't want to say a puppy, but, you know, a young dog that you couldn't believe she was afraid of. When we moved up to Ashland, everybody here has at least 2 or 3 dogs, it seems like. Everyone here has animals. It's a very different reality than when we were living in LA. And, you know, only one of her friends there had a dog. And so she couldn't go on a play date or anything without trying to figure out where she was going to be without fear. I'm like, well, this is just no way to live, you know. And look, this is really her essence. This image, these wolves, this is her, looks like her when she was young. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Just a little bit more education about a same soul, and you do have to be a certain place on the wheel, so to speak, before this can happen, because obviously you're not going to separate from yourself until you're really ready to go for it. And
would that be that's the 3rd stage individuated state, right?
Yeah, it's like right at the 3rd stage, 1st stage. Not, you know, it's got to be right at the cusp.
Oh, okay.
Right at the end and the beginning of the 1st stage. So, spiritual. So, a funny story. So my son, and I have a son and a daughter, and Katya and Scott, and he knows all about the same soul thing because we're forever finishing each other's sentences. We are so much alike in so many ways. He's just constantly like, oh, there they go again, you know. It was so funny because he was telling us, when I was talking to him about what it means to be a same soul, and so he could understand it, is, you know, that we are both working on our evolution at the same time. Everything that I do helps her, and everything she does helps me. And I know when I'm getting stuck I can see her getting stuck. And I'm like, I don't want her to get stuck. Like, I've got to do this, you know? So it really motivates you.
Right.
And he said, you know what? That's just cheating. He just thought it was so unfair that, you know.
I was wondering about that. I was going to actually ask about that.
Yeah, he thinks it's cheating. I'm like, you know, you may have the same soul on this planet somewhere that's working hard for you, and vice versa. So anyway, and you can read through some of these for those that are watching and listening. But you know, you can become a mirror for each other, and you know, you can quickly work through things in a moment. It's pretty freaking powerful, I will say. To be able to be aware of, it's like she's my daughter, but she's me at the same time. So I'm, of course, a mother, this nurturing force for a daughter, and I wouldn't treat her any other way, but it becomes really strange when she's misbehaving and it's me. You know?
Right, yeah.
Like so, when she's rebelling against me, like I'm rebelling against myself.
Right, yeah, right. And so I'm curious, like, I imagine that the both of you, osmose dynamics, you know, prominent dynamics within each of you. And do you ever have trouble, like, separating yourself from what you're osmosing?
Oh, definitely. But you know what, I would have to say that I have this vivid memory of it, like literally being a dark night of the soul for me, like this really difficult turn I needed to make. And I was literally on my knees, like just sobbing. And she came into my room and she was literally rubbing my back. She might have been like 10. And she's like, Mom, you're going to be fine. Like, you've got this. Literally how I would be talking to her, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
Remember who you are. Remember how strong you are. You know, all the things. Like at 10, she was saying to me. And so I feel like we've never been, you know, at that hard place at the same time. I mean, even with the loss of Lucky, we're just clinging to each other, sobbing. You know, it's just like, and then one would be worse than the other at any given moment. So we were never just all the way down at the bottom at the same time. You know, it's that mirror too. Like, so that's been an incredible thing to experience and then to witness and then to understand. And also, like when you see a child down and then you take it to this place of seeing yourself in a place you don't want to be, it's extremely empowering and motivating to help pick yourself up in that moment. I don't want to be down there. I want to break through this. And she had an incredible period of past life hauntings, fears in middle school. 7th, 8th, 9th grade were just brutal for her, the nightmares she had. That mirrored some of the ones that I had had. So anyway, it's been an awesome journey, though, just getting through all that and knowing that the kind of ground that you can cover, you know, when you're just staring at it and living it together.
Yeah.
So anyway,
right.
Same soul. We'll go to the next slide. So here we are. She's holding a little stuffed horse. Her favorite stuffy. My favorite stuffy was a dog growing up.
Aww.
Yeah. And go ahead to the next one. Oh, is that your dog?
Yes.
Oh. So for those of you, I remember Jeffrey used to say, you know, you can't tell same souls really from a chart, but you are going to see, I'll put it this way, if there's a lot of contacts in a chart, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the same soul, but if they are same souls, you are going to see the contact, right?
Right.
So,
there's going to be a lot of repeating themes that you figure out.
So, I mean, Katya's Pluto, which is a soul, right? Is right on that Sagittarius stellium. It's right in between that Mercury Sun, 10 degrees. That Mercury rules the North Node. We both have Cancer rising within a degree of each other.
Wow.
Less than a degree. Her moon is exactly on my North Node, which is the chart ruler. And Katya's Saturn, which is the ruler of her south node is conjunct the north node in my chart. So there's multiple combinations here, but that's what you're going to find in a same soul scenario. Something that dramatic. You can also see here, by the way, that my Saturn squares her Jupiter. So it reflects like the hiding that we've both been experiencing. Her south node is in Capricorn in her 7th, which is like coming through these really formal families, right? With a lot of rules and a lot of rigidity, and like just the patriarchal influence is shown here really in both of our charts in recent lives. Okay, we can move to the next.
Well, and also the need to liberate from those things.
Oh, absolutely. 11th house, right? My north node's in the 11th, and her moon is on that north node, also in the 11th. Her moon is in the 11th, and the Saturn as well. So in a composite chart, yeah, the composite, you're going to see all the daemon archetypes again. You're going to see, well, Pluto's in the 4th, of course, mama and daughter, trining the north node, and Gemini in the 12th house with Jupiter. Jupiter rules the south node in Sag with Neptune. Look at all that mutable energy.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. So the moon, of course, is in the 11th, which is, again, a need to liberate, a need to become our own person again, independent of what the world thinks is normal and acceptable. And look at that Saturn in the 10th in Aries, trining Neptune in the south node in Sag. Like, that is an aspect of strength. That's the part of this combination where, you know, we're come hell or high water, we're going to make it this time, you know?
Yeah, that is up there with Scorpio on the cusp of the 5th there. That's what this life is about.
Definitely. Absolutely. All right, so we'll look at some of these a little bit later too. So we'll go to the next chart. So when we moved to Oregon, as I mentioned, you know, I really had a hard time hooking her up with friends unless they were coming to our house because of our fear of animals and our dogs in particular. And we were invited to this barbecue. And the chart is the barbecue with the composite chart, or the barbecue is overlapped to the composite chart this particular day. And we went to this barbecue, and I was told there were going to be a couple dogs there, but don't worry, they're puppies and they're really sweet. And she seemed okay with that. And one of them was a pound puppy that looked like a lab, and the other one was a little English Mastiff named Simba. And she was clinging to me. I mean, it was an big outdoor place, right, with a lot of property. And this little dog looked at her from afar. I looked at us. She just had her arm wrapped inside of mine. And this little puppy, 10 weeks old, 12 weeks old maybe, started walking slowly all the way to our feet. A lot of people were there.
Wow.
And sat down and looked up at her. And I picked up this puppy and held it for her. And on that day, her fears disappeared.
Wow.
On that day,
oh my
my allergies vanished. On that day. So this soul was on a special mission, for sure.
Yes.
To help us remember who we are, to teach her not to be afraid, and to help her get back into better balance again. So what happened was, it was just this emotional thing, and I knew it was visceral, you know. I just had the chills, and she was teary. She was so happy. She just felt like she had reunited with like a love from the past, you know, that kind of feeling. And we were driving home, and she said, "Mom, I want a dog just like Simba." And I said, "Do you realize how big that animal gets? It's massive." She's like, "I don't care." So now she wants a dog that's gonna be like 200 pounds, you know, the size of a small horse. So I went online, and I'm showing her pictures of how big this dog gets. And she's like, "That's fine, I'm good. I'll be fine. I'm not afraid anymore."
That's incredible.
So this woman, we went to this barbecue, and the mother has 4 boys and wanted to come and get her chart read and the charts of her sons. And that was going to happen the week following. And the week following, she's calling me and she's crying. And she said, Kristin, I'm still coming. I'm sorry I'm late, but I can't. I told her to please bring the puppy, bring Simba. She said, I'm sorry, I can't bring Simba. I killed him last night.
Oh.
I ran over him in our Denali, in our school.
Ouch.
And I literally became hysterical. Like someone had just called to tell me that someone ran over my child. Like hysterical, like I couldn't even breathe. And I wasn't, I mean, anybody that hears a story about a puppy being run over by its owner, or anybody, they're going to get emotional, right? If you love animals, you're like, oh my God, like I can't even imagine anything more horrible.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, my response was over the top. Like I knew in my soul something was happening and I didn't even know what to do about it. Mm-hmm. And she comes in the door and, you know, I'm just inconsolable. And she says to me, you know, maybe Simba will come back for you. So we looked at his chart, and we can go to the next chart. And I told her, because obviously I'm the one she's coming to for a reading. I'm the one that's supposed to be helping her with her grief. And she's trying to help me.
Yeah.
And in essence, this is Simba. And he came into this world as a self-sacrifice. My daughter came home from school that day. The same thing happened to her. She was inconsolable. So, you know, you can see Katya's chart in the center. Simba's is on the outside. Jupiter is right on her south node, her past. This is one of her wolves or dogs from a past life. Look at that exact aspect.
Yeah.
Venus is on her Saturn. This soul's sun is on her moon. Actually, the Mars and Leo is on Katya's and my daemon, my wolf and her daemon. And so I was teaching my client about this energy of self-sacrifice, and I mean, it really helped her in a way that she was part of something bigger than herself, and that she really trusted that he would be coming back, and that even if he didn't, that he had thrown us so far into our emotional bodies. My allergies had disappeared, her fears had vanished, and all she could talk about was bringing back the soul of Simba.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just really struck by is this Simba, Pluto in Sag, or wait, which one am I looking at?
Zero cap.
Zero cap. Okay, what was the last chart we were looking at? Because there was, you know, transiting Pluto, right?
Oh, the last chart was the barbecue.
This is an event chart. So you've got transiting Pluto right there at 28 Sag.
On the Neptune.
Yeah, on Neptune and the south node. And then
my gosh, yeah.
You've got that moon in Gemini. And so this was an emotional mission, and that's exactly what the soul of Simba accomplished, because it just literally, she lost her fear. You know, she regained this different association to dogs, which she had been previously afraid of. So
well, yeah, that Pluto and the Neptune is like pulling us both out of hiding, also allowing for the healing of the allergies, of the fears. And the opposition is about that moon was right on my natal Jupiter as well, which is about throwing something off from the past. The opposition can have a way of, you know, symbolizing throwing off the fears of the past, or coming out of hiding in this context. Right. I was able to get the birth chart of Simba, which is why when we go to the next slide, you know, he had already been alive, right, since May, but we didn't meet him until that August event. Right. So that Christmas, this is end of August, that Christmas of 2008, Christmas Day, I got a phone call from my friend, and she said, the same parents just had another litter. Simba's same parents just had another litter, and they were born on your birthday.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh my, she said, do you want first pick? Because we already got another dog. And I said, absolutely. So you can go to the next chart. Of course, I wanted to call this dog Lucky. Let's see here. Can you go to the next slide and we'll come back to this? So this is the day that Lucky came back on my birthday. Well, what his original form in this life was Simba, but the eyes do they not look similar? Come on.
Absolutely.
And Lucky was born on my birthday. Jupiter was conjunct Venus. And I'm a Sag, of course. Mars and the sun were conjunct my sun. I mean, if you overlap these charts, it's ridiculous. Mm. So it was January. You can go back to the slide prior. I actually went to look at the puppies, and there were 10 brindles and 3 fawn puppies, and only 1 male fawn. And when I went to this home to look at the puppies, every single puppy scurried away except for 1 fawn male. Walked right up to my feet, just like Simba did, and I bent down and picked him up. I'm like, yep, here you are again. So it's January of 2009. And the day before, I'm supposed to go pick him up. And I will say they were not certified breeders. I don't believe he was in the best of care. And there was an ice storm in Ashland. Like, it was this weird inversion of weather where icicles were hanging off the trees. Like, I have never seen it like this since. It wasn't snowing, but it was like as the rain was coming down, it froze on the way down and would just hang from the trees. And I got a call the day I was supposed to pick him up. And he was crushed by the mother.
Oh, boy.
And all the other puppies. They'd put him in a doghouse out in this cold.
Oh.
So this is the second time that Simba / Lucky has been crushed. And we have to go through the emotion all over again.
Wow. Wow.
And I had to tell my daughter that he was gone again.
Oh my God.
So I had to tell myself that. Let's go back to this slide before. Oh, I'm sorry, go 2 forward. The night before, I was with a friend, Isa. Go to the tarot cards, please. I was with a friend and we decided we were so excited about bringing Lucky home that we were going to pull 3 cards, 3 tarot cards. These are the cards that I pulled with my daughter. The past is this, fertile, heart outpouring, amazing card. The present is really a death card. And the future was fruition. 1, 2, 3, past, present, future.
Right.
And I just panicked. How could this be the present? We already lost him once, right?
Yeah.
And my friend quickly hid the cards from my daughter, and she's like, oh, that doesn't mean that. It's probably just a death and a rebirth of you. She's doing everything she could. I'm like, I don't have a good feeling about this.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, he did die in the night. So I don't pull cards anymore because this has haunted me ever since. They're like way too accurate. But there was a beautiful fruition. I have to agree with the 3rd card. Let's all right, let's go to the next slide. And we can keep going. So in April of 2009, I told my daughter, she said she didn't want another dog right away, that she wanted to wait till Lucky could come back. They've got to be, what at the gestation or incubation period is like 60, 63 days. She couldn't even think about another dog unless it was Lucky.
Yeah.
And we followed the breadcrumbs. I went to a site that was an English Mastiff breeding site, was like in Iowa. But I was just surfing around, and on the front page of this site was this image from the Lion King holding up Simba on an English Mastiff website. And his name was Simba in this lifetime. Like, if you can't pay attention to the signs, I don't care what state it's in. And then the song Arms Wide Open, it's like this Creed song where he's on the cliffs in England or somewhere, so beautiful, completely feels like a past life thing. I just started bawling my eyes out when I saw it. So anyway, Lucky did come from this particular breeder. This was Lucky as a puppy, and Lucky a little older. He's probably 5 or 6 in this picture on the right. But what happened one day, we were able to get first pick of the litter. I was asking for birth times. I was overlapping charts, and there were 10 puppies in this litter, and I had already picked which one I knew to be him. And when Katya got home from school, she was looking through all the images, went all the way through them patiently, and then said, "Go back to number 3." She said, "Yep, that's him," and she walked away.
Wow.
So again, still, she had no fears. My allergies have been gone. 11 years later,
Amazing.
The same is true. So let's go to the next slide. And one of the things I was able to teach her when she was young, and of course this is right when she got lucky, we got lucky, that there's a reason that the word three, or the expression third time's a charm, came to be. And I do feel that that second pass through had to happen. It was really about making sure that our souls were ready for something like this. And what I will say, I'm going to kind of go back to a memory that I had when I went to Grants Pass, which is where the puppies were the second time through. And I stood at this fence, and the door opened, and these dogs came charging toward me. There was a fence. They were massive. They were over 200 pounds. I thought that they were the father, and they were the puppies from the same litter Simba was a part of. And I was literally a little bit petrified, I have to say. They were massive, coming at me again. And it took a lot for me to be around a bunch of very large dogs with, you know, of that nature. They could take one bite, and they're very protective of their people. And I think I just had to go through that again. And just walking into the house and having that experience of that commitment that Lucky really was a soul on a mission. He is a soul that sacrificed so much for Katya and for me, so we could recover our roots, our essence, our daemon natures. And, you know, the fact that we did, I feel, have to go through that emotional, cathartic hit that would allow us to have the patience to wait for the right timing. We did name him Lucky again because he had Jupiter on the moon when he was born. I mean, there was just so many things that lined up. I mean, it was like so clear in his chart, everything he had been through. But it taught us too, like I was able to teach Katya about this, that souls do come back, whether they're animals or people. We have a strong gravitation or magnetism to an animal, to a person. You know, of course you've known them before. And it's important for us to ask the question, why am I calling this into my life? You know, why did we have to go through that emotional devastation? And when you can hang out in the middle of the pain and you can allow yourself to be vulnerable, the teachings will follow. They will show up. for you.
Wow. You know, I'm looking at Lucky's chart, and there's a lot of balsamic energy.
Right.
There's all these planets in the 10th in Aquarius that are forming balsamic relationship to Neptune there, well, in the stellium. And then he's got that Pluto in Capricorn, which is just a sheer symbol of determination. He was just determined, you know, and it's like you say, having to experience that trauma again, it's re-entering the fracture. And, you know, by golly, you guys were going to do it this time. You guys were going to do it. It was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I like the, well, I love the Jupiter moon because by being balsamic, it's so Piscean. It's not so Arian. He wasn't Aries, but his sun was in the 12th house. He was just as sweet as a day is long. I mean, just a tender, tender treasure. And a couple of things I wanted to share too is that, you know, in EA, we talk a lot about gender switch, right? When we're looking at a chart of someone, we look at Capricorn, Cancer as archetypes of male and female, 4th house, 10th house. And while he looks very male in this picture to the right in particular, his body was very female. He wasn't this big, thick male, that hanging skin everywhere. He had femininity in his bones and his body, so nurturing, so androgynous that is a soul. So you could see in a past life, and he was only, I think at his height, he was probably 160 pounds, maybe 155. His father was 240. So that's the low end of a male at 160 for a master. And the females are usually like 120 to 170. He had this beautiful body, and he would prance, you know, like literally prance when he was so beautiful. And all this Pisces energy. So we have Mars and Venus in Pisces, Sun in the 12th, Mercury in the 12th, Jupiter, Moon, balsamic, and Neptune, Jupiter, Moon, balsamic. When people were in this year with me, I don't know if I shared this earlier. I don't think I did. I know I may have mentioned that maybe I was talking to you before this show. I hope I'm not repeating myself, but when someone comes in here for a reading or has come in here and they're really suffering for one reason or another, and I would always ask, do you mind if Lucky hangs out in here? And everybody always wanted him in here because his energy was so grounding. He would put his paw on their leg. Well, I'll show you in another image here. The way that he liked to connect with us most would be to put his nose right on our third eye, like this.
Oh, wow.
His right here. And, you know, we would put our head up and he would just come right to that place. And I have a couple friends in this town that are for sure daemon souls, and that's the first place he would go. As soon as he saw them, he would come right up to them and want to just connect, like, you know, this chakra to this chakra.
Wow.
And so a lot of people felt like they got healings by him just being in here, because he just had a way of settling people's souls and expanding their views of things in a way that they didn't feel they had before walking into this room. And he certainly has helped all of us in the same way.
Yeah.
You can see, unfortunately, the 8th house Pluto retrograde, squaring Uranus, squaring Mars, squaring Venus, like these sudden exits that he had. And while he was 11 and lived longer than most animals in his breed, and he did have an accident, but fortunately he didn't have to suffer. So, and maybe he had been suffering longer than we knew. He did not want to leave this world. I know that. And we're hoping he wants to come back, but we've got our little antennas up. So do you have any questions about anything more that you can, or offerings you want to share of this chart in particular?
I mean, I guess just looking at Lucky's chart again, I mean, I've already referenced this stellium of the moon, Chiron and Neptune, but it just sees, like, I see reward in that. you know, you made multiple tries in connecting with the soul, and and you know, with the moon and Jupiter, it's like, you know, in order for sometimes for opportunities to come, something has to go, and you did that in the previous lives, and in this life is lucky, you know, there was going to be some longevity to the relationship.
Exactly. And it's interesting too, because remember I was sharing, I'll just share briefly because this was a dream that I did have. I was shown on a couple of occasions right after the first experience of meeting Simba and hearing about that loss. I had some dreams, and one of them, when we were living, I ran away from a very wealthy reality of sorts, and with my dogs or wolves or whatever, they look like wolves, but they were probably called dogs in that life. And I lived deep in the woods with these animals, just wanted to run away from that reality. And we too were caught by surprise in that life, you know, hunted down by a group of men that didn't want me to survive because I ran away from my life and embarrassed the family or what have you. So he was my alpha male in that life, and he was the last soul that I saw perish in that dream. And you can imagine what happened from there. So anyway, you can see this theme in the chart, you know, kind of caught by surprise, the trauma signatures that, you know, kind of have followed him into this life. But obviously this last time that he passed was nothing like the time in the forest. That was like probably in the dark ages, I think. Definitely a very difficult time to be alive as a daemon soul. We'll just put it that way. But anyway, so let's go to the next slide. Keep going. So this is what he would do. Go back one. Back one slide. Yeah, here. So, it's not sticking. One more time. Go forward now, one. There, no, keep going. Forward. Forward. One more time. There we go, stop.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously my daughter's on the ground, and this is where he wants to give her a kiss on the third eye.
Yeah, oh wow.
That's sweet.
It's beautiful.
Okay, so next slide. So he was very regal. You could see here his South Node and Leo in the 4th house, and
beautiful.
I definitely think he was probably guarding Tibetan monasteries in another life. Doesn't he have that kind of vibe?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But you can see too in his maleness, there's this femininity about him. I mean, you'd have to see him move to know. It was really awesome. I'd like you to go back. I'm so sorry now, about 3 slides. Picture of Lucky when he was little. I just wanted to draw your attention to one more thing before we close. Keep going. There, stop. Can you see in his third eye, there's a heart.
Oh.
And this heart became more defined. He's had a little heart on his tag too.
Oh.
And that heart would change over time. Sometimes it looked like a 3, and sometimes it looked like a heart.
Oh,
and
wow.
even to the day he died, that heart was still on his third eye.
Oh, wow.
And passed away. So, I mean, he just kind of made things obvious. All right, we can travel to the end of these slides. I want to make sure there's nothing I forgot, but I just want to encourage people that have lost animals or souls that they've loved, and you know, to know that there is a chance they could be coming back. It's so important for us to pay attention to the signs. And to show you one more piece of astrology, a week ago today, Mars is in Pisces, and it was exactly opposing Katya's Mars in Virgo. Both of those archetypes are daemon archetypes, while squaring her Saturn and Moon in Gemini, more daemon archetypes. Mars in Pisces was squaring my nodes. So there was a lot of very intense, exact aspects. And of course, doing what I do for a living, knowing he was declining, feeling it was imminent, you know, it's a blessing and a curse to have your eye on some of these transits sometimes. And,
Right.
but I felt like I wanted to really come back here today and honor him and teach some evolutionary astrology with you, Stacie, which I love to do so much. I love this work.
Too.
It's so powerful. And to just let people know that, of course, our animals are there for us. We've called them in for very specific reasons. Sometimes they're really intense reasons to help us evolve. And sometimes they're just there just, you know, to be a companion and a healing force in our lives.
Well, and, you know, in terms of evolution, the evolution of a soul, many humans started out in animal form. And so, you know, there comes a time where it's natural for, you know, an animal to enter a human family and sort of, you know, learn the ropes and get that exposure.
Yeah, and I can tell you that, and like a lot of people say too, he felt like yours does. So human, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things that he would sit on the couch, actually, because he was so big.
Yeah.
He sat on the couch, and when we sang happy birthday, he would sing too. He would howl happy birthday, literally to the beat. Like, I'm not kidding.
Oh my gosh. So
there's a
sweet.
lot of things that he did that were very human, and he was fed like a king the night before he passed. He kept nudging me. He kept telling me he's hungry. He's more hungry. I'm like, okay. And I don't know. It's just one of those things. You just wanted to do it right. I mean, I did not expect him to go that next morning, but something kept telling me to give him what he needed. And so his last supper was indeed probably the best meal he's had.
Wow. Well, that's good. I'm so glad.
And a lot of love, of course, from all of us. So I don't know what the last slide is. Let's just kind of go to the end here. And oh, of course. So this is Katya and I. Of course, we're not dancing a jig right now, but we sure were when we met up with Lucky again in this life. And this is definitely what our soul feels. And souls, because of having him in our life for the past 11 years. And this is a freedom that we can all feel when we recover those steps and those pieces of our past that allow us to put everything back together again.
Yeah.
And this is the goal. Liberation, celebration.
Yes.
And freedom. Yeah.
Love that.
All right, so thank you all for holding space for me today. At the very beginning, I'm like, oh, wow, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull this one off, but it just felt really good to tap into and tune into this soul that was a guiding light for my life, my family's life, so many people that met him's life, their life. And so I just wanted to honor this particular animal that is lifelike, human-like, I should say, that has meant so much to us on our journey. We are so excited to be starting a new series coming up as well. The Jeffrey Wolf Green School of Evolutionary Astrology. We are starting a new series, Stacie and I, on natural astrology, which, gosh, we came up with this idea at the end of our last, well, it was recent, in the middle of when we were working through this DAEMON series, and we really wanted to talk about and share with everybody what are the natural expressions of Aries through Pisces. Of course, the distortions will come up through comparison, but we really wanted to focus on what it means to be natural when you're expressing this archetype.
Yes, the natural intentions.
Exactly, and to remind us all what that looks like now that everybody's lives had to slow down for so long. It'll be a couple weekends a month. So for the next 6 months, starting the first Saturday in June, we're going to be kicking off that series with other well-known evolutionary astrologers and really gifted astrologers that are going to bring their wisdom to this space. And we're going to journey together with all of you. We look forward to more spaces like this in the future. So,
well, and Kristin, I'd just like to acknowledge you for really focusing on such a sensitive and personal, such sensitive and personal content. You know, it's like you were saying earlier, it's so fresh. And you know, these are ideas that there isn't a lot of information about. You know, same soul, there isn't a lot of information out there, and so it's I think it's really important, that it's really beneficial for you to share your experience and put yourself out there like that, so that we can, you know, get more familiar with these types of dynamics.
well, I mean, I did feel that there was so much teaching in this journey that very specific to these principles, and it was important to offer those to those that might benefit from them. So, well, thank you also for being here with me today, because I don't think I could have done it by myself.
I'm happy to.
Yeah, and I know you feel the pain. Anybody that's lost an animal or anybody that they love, we all know that pain. We've all been there on some level. So thank you for understanding and for just being open to what we've had to share today for those of you that are tuning in. So I look forward to next time with you, Stacie.
Me too.
Let's start a brand new series. And well, if there is any more follow-up to Lucky's journey, I'll be letting you all know. He came back twice, 3 times,
right.
thrice. You never know. We're keeping up our antennas over here.
Yep.
I'd love to be able to prove it all again. That would be inspiring for other people to go do the same. That would just mean the world to me to be able to do that for other people.
Yeah.
Okay, well, until next time, namaste.
Namaste.